Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ok Xoomer. I'm your host, Aaron Lichtig, Xometry guy and former Jeopardy champion. And I'm really excited to be here today with Sam Skinner. Now, Sam is the Chief Experience Officer at X.Labs. And X.Labs is a leader in next generation public safety and threat detection technology. And they have a product called Feevr. And Xometry actually made some of the custom parts for Feevr that does contactless temperature detection. And this is something that clearly has become more important in recent months during the COVID pandemic. So Sam, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So tell us a little more about X.Labs and the Feevr product.
Sure. So obviously, as things have developed here in the last few months, we, at the core, are a technology company. We're rooted in the idea of safety and public health. Specifically, one of our early products was a weapons detection device. We had people that were focused on seeing if they had a more mobile solution rather than the traditional heavy installation machinery you would see at an international checkpoint or at an airport. So what we did was initially there was some thermal imaging components. That's some of my mini X-Labbers.
We may have a special guest here on my side as well. He sometimes comes in.
So initially what they did was it was based on millimeter wave technology. Millimeter wave technology is very beneficial. You would see it at the airport. When you step into a machine and you put your hands over your head, millimeter wave technology is very good at being able to detect foreign objects on your person. But one of the components that was already embedded in that was thermal imaging. And for a number of reasons, it's a very powerful technology, and it was embedded in our original product, which was called Sword. We're still working on that. It's going to be called X1. But all that being said, there were some existing clients that were very interested in that product, but they came back to us in December, January. They had international operations, and specifically some of the cruise liners were noticing that whereas they would initially be concerned with somebody potentially getting off the ship and going to a port and coming back on, you would want to make sure that there was no contraband being brought back on the ship. With the as things deteriorated globally from a health standpoint, there was a major concern with how businesses and institutions were protecting themselves from potentially somebody that was any type of sickness, any type of illness, and it was very difficult to be able to instantaneously screen people. In the absence of any type of testing, short-term testing, 24-hour testing, anything, one of the first things that was identified was to identify people that may have elevated skin temperature. As a result, the Feevr product was born. The Feevr product is basically a mobile solution to be able to screen someone for elevated skin temperature from a distance. So it helps promote decreased cross-contamination as opposed to closer to contact with a person, as well as from a social distancing standpoint, you're able to operate under a new set of guidelines and policies and procedures that we think were going to be implemented. That was all prior to March, kind of third week of March, as things started really, going by the way of extreme caution. And as people have looked to both reopen, or if you're an essential business, or if you're an administrator looking to find how to have a select group come back to work, Feevr was used as a solution to help promote public safety and different health and wellness policies and procedures.
Gotcha. So how does the technology actually work? If I brought it into my business, how would I use it?
If we were to do a verbal unboxing, basically what you get is it's a tripod with a power bank, which is going to power two items. One is a thermal imaging camera, which is attached to just basically a mobile phone, which is the operating system on which our software runs. And the biggest thing is as a mobile solution, you need to have power. It needs to be able to be portable. So the power bank powers the thermal imaging camera, which is attached to the mobile phone. And then we have a wireless charging option that is connected. It's not an option, it's now standard. It comes attached to the clip that you would screw into the top of the tripod. So that whole self-contained unit can run from about 18 to 22 hours before you need to charge your power bank.
Okay, and then it somehow gets that information back to you, the temperature.
Oh yeah, so it is what you would see is a screen about the size of a cell phone, So
Okay.
you would direct it towards your flow of people, whether that be somebody arriving to work, or getting back on the cruise ship, or at different different types of facilities. They have kind of set up their front entrance, or where people are coming in. Some people have a screening area where they want to ask questions, for instance, if you've been traveling, et cetera, had any exposure. But in that kind of process, the same way you would want to badge in or check somebody's ID, we're now seeing these thermal imaging devices being set up so that you can screen for elevated skin temperature. So really, it's combined with whether it be operations, security, administrative. It's just another tool that they would want to use to increase their precautions of what they're doing to make sure that their businesses are ready to go.
That's great. And especially during these times, that's definitely something companies are going to need.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, switching gears a bit, looking at your LinkedIn profile, earlier in your career, you worked primarily in finance. How did you shift over to being a chief experience officer at a hardware software development company?
I value my experience in finance. It really provided me a great insight into how to listen to what people need, as well as from a service standpoint, making sure you're delivering on what your products are intended to do. So my background in derivatives and options and basically equities was responsible every day for not only taking phone calls, but from a sales and trading standpoint, running balance sheets, maintaining our correct capital, as well as facilitating institutional business. So whether that be a mutual fund, a hedge fund, something along those lines. So I tried to listen more than I spoke. And what that really provided a good background for was, there's many times that I've found in relationships when somebody has something that they want to either relay or get off their chest, if you just ask a couple of questions, you'll be able to help figure out and service what they actually need. A lot of times that just comes from sales. So as I left Wall Street kind of in the middle of 2018, I went to take a job working as a chief investment officer for a digital asset trading platform, which there's plenty of crossover with from a traditional finance. There's a component to fundraising anytime that you're working with a smaller business or a startup, where you really have to understand the business to be able to speak about it completely, but customize that conversation based on who you're speaking with. And just, over the years, some good business relationship and friends I've made along the way, everybody was kind of going and moving in different directions as the world was continuing to change. So I moved into more of a investment type of role with helping smaller technology companies get going. And I was in the middle of working with a buddy of mine that does an e-commerce platform called Solar. And I got a call from one of my friends in Texas, and he mentioned this technology that they had that existed, and they were looking to bring it to the marketplace. And that was in late February, early March. So in the course of those conversations, as I began to understand the technology and the potential use case, I started working more closely with the executives at X.Labs and began to see not only the demand that was going to exist in the marketplace, but also maybe we didn't need to worry so much about financing and more about delivering on the product. So as I started to assist on that role, eventually we had a number of units that were already in production. And once they started to ship, there wasn't a lot of education or information in the marketplace about exactly what elevated skin temperature was. So in the course of going through that process, doing our own type of independent research, relaying that information became pretty paramount to when you're delivering a product to make people understand exactly what they have in their possession. And it kind of evolved from there. The company's continued to grow, as they've continued to have success, both from a sales standpoint and innovation on technology. Somebody has to be there to make sure that they're relaying to the customers exactly what they're doing. So that kind of fell to me, and I'm very happy to be helping out the team.
That's great. Now, you mentioned you talk to a lot of customers about their experience with the product and how they're using it. What are some of the questions that you ask to elicit some pretty deep or profound responses from the users?
It's a good question. Generally, if I'm speaking with somebody for the first time, what I really try to do is get some bullet points down about how they run their business, what their specific needs are. Are they open? Are they looking to open? Are they on a slow rolling schedule of opening? Is it an essential business? The nature of their business, and all these type of questions, even though they're kind of just seem high level, it allows somebody to talk about some of the challenges they might be anticipating. And sometimes it's something as specific as different state rules, different county rules, whether or not they're an international business, whether or not they're concerned with getting goods from one place to the other, how that might impact their overall business. And trying to take the approach where you're trying to work alongside someone and not sell them a product. It's a different type of role. So really trying to focus on how their experience is going to be with the product. Kind of where the role comes from. But I like to joke it, I'm just a customer service person. It's no more complicated than trying to figure out what issues somebody might be having and just try to help them out the best we can.
That's great. Well, Feevr is a very useful product, and it can help a lot of people out at these times. So Sam, thank you very much for joining us.
Certainly.
It's been great to get to know you, and we really appreciate the opportunity here at Xometry to work with Feevr. Audience, we will be back with another episode of Ok Zoomer in a couple days. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aaron.